So in this video, we're going to show you how to set up two of our traditional softboxes. We're going to start with a rectangle, but if you're looking to set up a square or a strip, it's going to be pretty much the same thing. Just remember, if you're setting up a strip, the rod spacing is going to be a little bit different. And then we're going to show you how to set up an octabox. So if you really want to see the octabox, we'll put a link with a timestamp in the description below. Go ahead and click there and it'll jump you on ahead. Now, the first thing you'll need when you go to build your softbox is a speed ring. It's important to note that none of our traditional softboxes include a speed ring. That's because we have 5 different mount options available, and we wanted to make it easy for people to select the one they needed. We have Bowen's mount, which is what all of our Interfit lights use. We also have Elechrome, Pro Photo, Broncolor, and Balcar, which is Paul Buff. Now, the first thing you'll need to do when you get your speed ring is find out where the rods need to go in the speed ring. You have 8 holes, and unless you're using an octabox, you're only going to need 4 of them. So now once you have your speed ring, you'll notice that there are different shapes along the outside, and this serves as a visual cue for which hole you're going to need to insert your rods into depending on which softbox you have. Now, if you're using a square softbox or a rectangle softbox, you're going to use the 4 rod holes that have 2 circles. Now, these are spaced at 180 degrees, which is exactly what you need for a square or a rectangle softbox. If you are building out a strip box, you're going to see a rectangle icon, but you'll notice that there's actually not a rod hole there. You are going to use the 2 rod holes on either side of the rectangle icon. And that's going to give you the elongated shape that you need for a strip. And then if you're using, or if you're going to build an octabox, you just use all 8 rod holes on the speed ring. So I found that setting up softboxes is easiest when you're down on the floor. So you set your speed ring down first. Take the body of the softbox and set it up over top. Now, before I get into this, you'll notice that there are some Velcro flaps here at the bottom near the base of it. Go ahead and open those up, and what that's going to do is relieve a lot of pressure later on in the process when you're setting this up. So you lay it out, set this in here, and take your softbox rods, and what you'll notice here is with the rods, there is a tip that is bigger and fatter, and then there is a tip that is skinnier. The larger, fatter rods rod tips are going to insert into the speed ring, and the smaller tips are going to go into the pockets of the softbox. So you insert the first rod into the speed ring first, and then into the corner of the softbox. And what you'll see here is there's a Velcro flap up top. You'll open this up, and what this allows you to do is insert the rod farther up into the pocket. And you can cinch it down later, but again, what this is doing is it's going to alleviate a lot of pressure, and you'll see that that's going to be important later on. Once you got the first rod in, what you want to do, regardless if you're doing a square, rectangle, strip, or an octa, is go 180 degrees in the opposite direction. So you get the rod tip here, insert it at 180, undo the Velcro strap. Oops, Velcro stuck on the carpet. Insert in here and let it go all the way to the end of this pocket here. And once you've done that, you go at about 90. You find the other rod hole that has the 2 circles on it. Insert it in there. Open that up. There we go. And the final rod here. And what you'll see, you'll notice that there will be some tension. I find that if you hold the speed ring down with one hand and use your elbow to push down on the body of the softbox, it's easier than if you were to just try and bend the rod into place here. So use your arm to bend that down, get it into the hole there. Okay, and that's basically it. Now that you have all 4 rods in place, you're going to kind of pull back on it a little bit until this Velcro flap can fold flush, and just work your way around and do the same thing. Pull up on it, fold it flat, and what you'll notice is that this is creating more tension in the softbox. Everything's kind of folding nice and snug. Once you have the 4 rods in place, everything's snug on the open end. You're going to flip it back over. And these Velcro flaps that were open at the beginning, just going to close them up. And everything starts to tighten up. And there you have it. All right, so all of our softboxes include internal and outer diffusers. And our internal diffuser is this one here. It has the Velcro tabs, and it very simply attaches here. You'll see a lot of softboxes that use some sort of snap or kind of clips, metal clips, and they oftentimes break, and they're kind of a pain to set up, but Velcro is just easier. Okay, you have your internal diffuser there, and your outer diffuser here. Again, this is a Velcro diffuser, and what I want you to notice is this Velcro strap here is pretty thick. I'd say it's about 1.5 inches thick, and what this lets you do is mount your diffuser either all the way out to the front, which is going to give you a wider throw of light, or you can recess it back to the inside edge, and what that's going to let you do is this exposed edge here is going to give you a little bit more control over the direction and allow you to feather the light. Okay, so when you're setting up the outer diffuser, you're going to start in one corner. I like to have control, so I'm going to mount it on the inside. Reach across to the other corner, mount it there, and just work it across here. That. And that's that. Okay, both diffusers are in now. Could be a little bit better done. I could have set this back a little bit. And then finally, the last thing that our softboxes include, every softbox includes a honeycomb grid. And this is just something that is incredibly valuable to portrait photographers especially. And this is going to allow you to really control the direction and spill of the light. And a lot of people will charge you extra for these, but we thought it's just such a valuable piece of equipment that we just had to include it. And there actually is a right way and wrong way to install this. You'll notice that it is not sewn exactly straight. It's almost at a little bit of a V. You're going to take that V, the base of the V, and line up the corner there. And the other corner here. And just work your way around. And it might bunch up a little bit on the last corner. Don't worry, that's not really going to affect your light output at all. And there you have it. All right, next up is our octabox. And if you watch the first half of the video where we set up the rectangle, it's going to be essentially the same process, just a little bit more involved since there are 8 rods. So make sure that the back end Velcro is undone. That's going to alleviate some tension, which the octaboxes do get a bit more tight later on in the process because you do have 8 rods pulling on it. Speed ring down in the middle, and undo the first rod flap. And what this does, you'll see that there's a rod, or there's a pocket flap on each one of the 8 rod pockets. That's just there so that you can open it up insert the rod all the way through, and it's going to alleviate a lot of the pressure. So the first rod goes in. And all the way through the pocket. Now, if you didn't follow along the first half, I'll say it again. We have, each rod has a fatter tip and a thinner tip. The fat tip is going to go into the speed ring, and the thinner tip is going to go into the rod pocket. And once you have your first rod in place, you're going to go 180 degrees, insert it into the speed ring, open up the Velcro flat, and all the way through. And then from there, it's just going 90 degrees, 180 degrees. So you make it a square. I know some people like to construct these kind of in a clockwise or counterclockwise fashion. I've always found that going at 180 and kind of building it out in sections makes it a little bit easier. But you find out what works for you. Now, we'll point out that all of our soft boxes have these silver sheaths right here. You can insert your rods through there, and that's going to help it keep its shape. It doesn't make a big difference in the grand scheme of things, but if you are going to set it up and leave it set up for a long time, I would recommend using these. But if you know you're just using it for one shoot, it doesn't really make that big of a difference. Now, tension is getting greater, especially in these last couple of rods. That's where undoing the Velcro really makes a big difference. Again, you can use your elbow or forearm to kind of push down on the softbox material to loosen it up. Allows you to get the rod tip in there. And there we go. Once you got all the rods in, you can see it's kind of loose and there's a lot of loose material down there. Grab onto the rod with one hand, the softbox with the other, and pull it tight until the rod tip clears this outer Velcro flap. And that helps us cinch everything up. And then just work around until these all get tightened. And you'll see the material starting to tighten as you go around. Once you got all of these cinched up, flip it over. This is already folded back on itself. Close the Velcro straps or Velcro flaps here. Everything should be tightened to place. There you have it. The structure is done. Now our diffusers, all attached via Velcro. Like I said before, you'll see some soft boxes that have metal snaps or clips to hold their diffusers in. That just didn't make as much sense. Velcro is easier, it's faster. Just start here, work your way around. And there you have it. There's your inner diffuser. And then there's also the outer diffuser. And again, like the rectangle softbox, the Velcro strip along the outside is really fat. If you mount the diffuser close to the outside, it's going to give you a wider spread of light. But if you recess it back about 1.5 inches to this inside edge, it's going to give you a lot more control of the direction, allowing you to feather it for a really nice dramatic effect. You'll also want to recess the diffuser if you're going to be using a honeycomb grid. So it's a little difficult to find a corner since this is octagonal, but once you find the corner, just line them up and then start working your way around. there you have it. And last but not least is our honeycomb grid. And this is a really useful tool. It's going to help you control the spread of your light and create some really dramatic images. There is a right and a wrong way to insert this. You'll notice that the seams or the edges are not sewn in a straight line. They're a little bit at a V. And what you want to do is you want to take the point of the V and put it in the corner. Okay. And then you just walk it around. The corners should all line up nicely. Push it into place. I think we all know how Velcro works. So there we have it, setting up a rectangle softbox and an octabox. If you have any questions on the process, please feel free to leave us a comment below. And if you'd like to learn more about our softboxes, click on the link in the description box. Softboxes are great. So that was the intro, right? Does that work? Now there actually is a right and a wrong way to insert this. Flip this upside down. I actually did this backwards.